You got to be talking about the Bucks' new bling. That ring.
That is correct, Jenna. That is correct. I was not consulted on this. Neither were other sports media members. As you know, we spend a lot of time here on this show and many other shows counting rings. Meanwhile, the Milwaukee Bucks just go and change the game and don't tell anyone. Say, good news, everybody. Now you got to count pendants, too. Not on my watch. Don't do this ever again. This is going to be a one-time thing. You can't just go changing the main symbol of success and not even give us a heads up. You can't take, hey, they're not gold medals anymore. They're gold trophies. Hey, they're not heavyweight belts anymore. We're turning them into green jackets like the Masters. That's not how it works. At least give us a heads up so I don't get like side blasted. What's the word I'm looking for? Blindsided. Side blasted. Needs a
Side blasted
with a cool video.
Blindsided.
Stick with rings. It works. Jordan still has 6 rings. He's the best. He doesn't have any pendants. It doesn't work at all. I'm flabbergasted and side blasted. Sorry.
You're sideways.
Okay. Side blank.
Time now for drawing a blank. We will let Wilds compose himself for a second. He got all fired up there. Let's talk some Nets and Bucks last night, the other game. KD led the way for Brooklyn with 32. They couldn't figure out a way, though, to stop Giannis and the defending champs. The Brooklyn Nets just looked a little lost out there, lost by 23 points. So Chris Broussard, the Nets' opening loss to the Bucks was blank.
Oh, let me hear this.
Wiles, let me throw this at you quickly, Wiles, because this will make you feel better. Maybe you get a pendant for winning that mid-season tournament Adam Silver wants to institute. So maybe that. You get a pendant for that, and you keep your ring for the championship. So maybe that's the answer. But anyway, drawing the blank.
Love it.
All right. The Knicks talking trash after what we saw from the Lakers.
Yeah.
All right, the Nets opening night loss to the Bucks, Jenna, was proof positive. Yeah, I said it. Proof positive. Proof positive that the Nets are doing the right thing by keeping Kyrie Irving out of road games. Because, look, last night, had Kyrie played, maybe they would have won that game, okay? But then next week, when you got your 6-game homestand, you're back to square one. My point is this. Last night was proof positive that chemistry and continuity and familiarity and defined roles are important. And that is why the Bucks waylaid the Brooklyn Nets, because the Bucks had plenty of it and the Nets had none. It was just James Harden and Kevin Durant's 7th game without Kyrie Irving. 7. And the last 3, James Harden was hampered by a hamstring injury. Don't tell me about Oklahoma City. Harden was a completely different player. That was eons ago. So what you saw last night is that the Nets need to develop their chemistry. Virtually everybody that came off the bench last night, 5 of the 6 guys was new. And so it takes time to get this together. And that's what we saw last night. James Harden, the game he played, 20 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds. That would have been fine. It would have been perfect, actually, with Kyrie on the court with KD. But without Kyrie, Harden's got to be a lot more aggressive, be more like the old James Harden, not completely, still be the point guard, but be more aggressive. Don't defer as much to KD. Play your game, and that takes time to get acclimated. So, proof positive.
Listen,
I actually liked it, Nick.
That's all. That's a good galaxy brain take to try to defend what I assume is going to be Broussard's title favorites. We're going to find that out in about 90 minutes. But listen, this was ominous, and it was ominous for a lot of reasons. Sorry, Milwaukee, you won the title. You're the best player in the sport. We're not going to talk about you. We're going to talk about the team that got annihilated by you. First of all, I was surprised, Broussard, we didn't get more out of those spry bench players you've been talking up so much. Paul Millsap and LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, they played for 26 minutes, but I think they scored 1 point. But that's what, no, they're on the court. The Wilds, there's no kid gloves of, oh, we have to be nicer to these guys. You played 20-plus minutes. You're supposed to be better. We're all glad you're healthy. But no. Hold on. Now on Harden.
LaMarcus Aldridge doesn't deserve respect. Come on.
He deserves, yes, as a human being. As a basketball player, Wasn't good in San Antonio. Told you that last year. Wasn't going to be good when he got to Brooklyn. And now he's not good now. Harden had a 4-minute stretch when he hit 3 threes in the second quarter. Aside from that, he was 3 of 13, and most importantly, struggled getting to the line. You see how many of those 3-pointers? Harden was making them, by the way, where he was flailing about, just gobsmacked that he couldn't get the call. Meanwhile, KD, does this remind you of anything? KD plays great, and the Nets lose to Milwaukee. That's 3 losses in a row to Milwaukee, by the way. The team they're going to have to go through. And the other reason it's ominous, there is a very strong case to be made, Wilds. The Nets lost the championship last year, not because of injury, but because of bad coaching. Because Steve Nash did not prioritize the 1 seed in the regular season, which is what put them on a collision course with Milwaukee in round 2. Nash's adjustments last year were KD play the whole game. You can't do that in the regular season. So you have a coach who I think's in over his head, a roster that doesn't have defense again, size again, and you're just relying on KD to be utterly brilliant while Harden has to adjust his game. That was an ominous sign for Brooklyn last night, Wilds. Wow. It was more than 1 loss.
Okay, I'm going to throw it back to you here because we're about to play our favorite in-segment game show.
Oh, yeah. I like this.
Okay, here's the first question in the game show. My answer is throwing the towel. Did you find it odd that Steve Nash pulled everybody and Budenholzer put Giannis back in the game with about 3 minutes left, down, I think, 15. Game's not out of hand necessarily, but it's not close. Steve Nash throws in the towel. Budenholzer's coaching up a storm. He's even more animated later on. Nick, did you find this curious? First question in our in-show game show called
Well, no, because that is exactly what cost the Nets the 1 seed last year, if you remember. When they were, I think it was in Minnesota, they had the big comeback in a game. They were resting KD because KD couldn't play back-to-backs, and they have the huge comeback. But they had already taken out Kyrie, and Nash won't put him back in. Yeah. Or the Philly game. That's the one I'm talking about. It was right after the Minnesota game. That's correct. It was the Philly game. That cost them the 1 seed. And so, Broussard, I know the Nets are in your heart, the defending NBA champions, even though they finished in 7th place last year. Do we have any evidence Steve Nash knows what he's doing? Do we have any evidence? Now, I know we have to be nice to Steve Nash, like LaMarcus Aldridge, nice guy, everyone loves him, great in the media, all this stuff. Okay, he's an NBA coach. I think we can criticize him. Do we have any idea he knows what he's doing?
Nick, I want you to answer me honestly. A year ago today, or maybe even 9 months ago today, what were you saying about Mike Budenholzer?
Well, that he needed to prove it in the postseason. That he was a great regular season coach that needed to prove it in the postseason. And then he proved it in the postseason.
You were down on him,
what was I saying about me before my wife gave birth? I wasn't a father. And then I was. Yeah, because he proved it in the postseason.
You know when you're going to believe in Steve Nash? You're going to believe in Steve Nash when the Brooklyn Nets are holding the Larry O'Brien trophy. That's when you're going to believe in him, and it's going to be too late.
Waiting to hand it to the team that
I'm
won
not saying Steve Nash.
Hey, hold on.
He's not Phil Jackson.
We got a ceremony going on?
He's not Phil Jackson, but he'll do a fine job. He did a fine job last year managing the egos.
So in other words, we have no evidence.
The problem is they've got to get used to playing with one another. They got to get used to playing with one another. That's all there is to it.
Okay.
Chemistry's important, my man.
All right, well, last night they did not have a ton of chemistry. Nets dropped their season opener to the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. Much more on this still to come, but we got to take a turn. Talk some football.